Now, as a real estate investor, I don't buy properties. I buy the numbers. This is for you. This goes out to one of the best property managers. Ain't no one else out there that can hang with you. You got these apartments on lock. Your hustle don't quit and your game don't stop. I know you're sick of me not paying the rent. Got my check next thing you know my money's spent. But I know I got a reckon, and I'll have your money on the 22nd. What's up, y'all? This is Velocity. Listen, I'm certain a large portion of you know, quite possibly the main parts of individual accounting, building capital, and setting aside a huge load of cash. Well, that's most likely going to be your financial assessment, okay? And those three numbers can affect whether you get a home or not. So let's talk about the credit score first, all right? Your credit score affects whether you can borrow cash, how you approach credit cards, how high or low your loan fee will be, and even in some cases, whether you'll be endorsed as a risk or not. However, that probably won't be the situation any longer on the grounds that a few days ago, articles started to course around and they were talking about the end of the credit score as we know it. Instead, it could be supplanted by a totally new credit scoring calculation. Now that would produce various results that don't appear on current credit reports, and that could either assist you with excursion or it could hurt you relying on your circumstance, all right? It all depends on what your circumstance is. So let's not burn through any more time. Let's get right into it, shall we? We'll broadly expound on precisely what this new proposition is, what these new changes are, what this will mean for your FICO rating, and ultimately what can be done in light of the fact that despite that these progressions will have an effect, there are a few arrangements that you can start chipping away at today on the off chance that this really comes to pass. Anyway, first, the greatest thing you could do right now that would have the biggest effect on my channel is to crush that like button for the YouTube algorithm. All right? Absolutely. It's named after velocity. All right? The quickest way for cash to flow into your bank account. Now, how precisely is the FICO rating calculated? Even though we realize what affects your score and roughly how much weight every classification has, we don't have the foggiest idea about the exact contemplations that give us what's called your credit rating. Yet, from what we do know, your financial assessment determined in large part by the following. First and biggest factor depends on your on-time installment history. All right, listen, that makes up 35% of your score. And this implies that you generally take care of your bills on time as concurred, right? And you never miss or pay an installment late. Okay, the second biggest effect is your credit usage rate. And that makes up 30% of your score. Now this computes how much credit you have accessible versus the amount of it you really use. So if you're someone who regularly maxes out their visas or uses practically the entirety of the whole credit given to you, your score will probably be lower since you're considered a more hazardous borrower. Third, we have the normal age of your credit, which makes up 15% of your score. Right? The more you have your charge cards, the better off you are. Right? Your score will be on the grounds that you have more experience taking care of them on schedule at that point. Okay. Fourth, the kinds of credit that you have, which makes up another 10% of your score. This simply implies that banks need to see that you have insight, okay, taking care of different kinds of advances to demonstrate to them that you're a monetarily capable grown-up who consistently covers their bills on time. Okay. Lastly, the leftover 10% of your score is determined by the quantity of hard requests you have on your report. You see, anytime you apply for another credit extension, it shows as what's known as a hard inquiry or a hard request. For the most part, money lenders get stressed, folks, all right? On the off chance that you have an entire pack of hard requests on your report, for them, it raises red flags, okay? It says you're out there attempting to apply for a great deal of credit and too many hard inquiries that actually brings down your credit score. So truly, we could utilize this data for our potential benefit, okay? By continually taking care of our cards on time, right? Can you say credit increase? Now, In the event that you follow this reliably for a couple of years, that's going to promote you to top level credit, okay? Where your loan specialists are fundamentally going to toss cash at you, all right, everywhere, especially if you have business credit, because you are viewed as a protected borrower. Now, there are some concerns, okay? This and a few issues that should be tended to in light of the fact that this framework is a long way from great. As of late, there's been another push to close down the 3 existing credit revealing organizations and gradually stage it in a pristine framework, okay? So we're talking about Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You see, the current credit scoring model leaves out a huge bit of the populace and is certifiably not a decent marker of whether somebody is really a credit hazard. The enormous 3 credit reporting organizations of Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax are on the whole secretly held, revenue-driven partnerships that accumulate your information and afterward build up their own free calculations. Yet, Equifax was really begun by a supermarket proprietor. Did you know that? Who made his own rundown of creditworthy clients. Afterward, he offered that rundown to other supermarkets so they would realize who to trust over the long run, okay? Then that business developed and guidelines were set up, and today we have the enormous 3 that are utilized all through absolutely everything, essentially. However, sadly, each of these 3 organizations have had terrible discrepancies. Experian settled with the FTC for deceitful strategic policies when they had their clients pursue a free credit report, however, afterward charged them $80 per month. In 2015, they encountered an information break that influenced 15 million clients. TransUnion was sued in a legal claim for remembering incorrect data for their credit reports. Equifax was additionally penetrated in 2017, affecting the data of countless individuals now. So clearly the framework is a long way from great. However, when you make a stride back, you start to understand that we depend on revenue-driven private organizations who build up their own in-house calculations to decide if you're able to even get credit. These organizations likewise assemble and sell customer information without telling us precisely what they're searching for. This process accidentally rejects individuals who don't play into the credit scoring calculation, which I will concede is a long way from ideal and makes too many vulnerable sides where individuals get forgotten about. Secondly, the credit scoring framework, all right, is exceptionally off base and it's extremely hard to address bogus data. Indeed, as per the FTC, 20% of individuals have at least one mistake on your credit report. My goodness, you got to check that out, all right? If you need help with that, creditwiz at investorpro.org. Also, as any individual who's disputed their bogus data, remedying their data on a credit report can be an overwhelming cycle. And despite the fact that this ought to be something you have the option to do yourself, it's frequently left to outsider organizations who actually have the resources to really battle for this at an expense. Obviously, the new proposition considers this to be a gigantic issue. It shouldn't be advanced science to contest bogus data on a credit report. However, the issues don't stop there, okay? The credit scoring model itself leaves a huge bit of the populace as what they would call credit undetectable, all right? This proposal argues that this current scoring model is absolutely inefficient. They want to create a consumer-run Consumer Financial Protection Agency within the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that would eventually take down all 3 credit reporting agencies. Okay, that's what the Biden administration wants to do. Rental and utility payments would be included as well, and instead of certain items falling off in 7 years, it would be 4 years. So studies have shown that dissecting elective data like on-time lease installments and utility installments are pretty much as exact as the customary methodology of investigating charge cards and advances before the credit scoring model. So what does that mean? So basically, when they take into account your rent and everything else you're paying on time, like your electricity, utilities, rent, it's basically the same as if they're looking at your credit card, okay? So you have the same patterns and can definitely be included in that credit report. Now, what do I think? Should they go to a publicly